Hello, my name is Kavan Ware, Fresh Aire Network Podcast Studio. I'm a producer, media, production, all that good stuff. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to have some dialogue with a friend of mine, business partner, and we're just going to talk about some things that deals with Atlanta, entrepreneurship, some of the challenges that we may have, but also the good things, what we're doing, what we have been doing, and what we're sure to do in the future, right?
Right.
So without further ado, we just get started. Can you introduce yourself and state a little bit about who you are and what you do and whatever you want to disclose to the public?
Most definitely. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, beautiful souls. It's Sha'Ria Thomas. I am life coach and inspirational songstress. I like to consider that I help people to reach their goals, personally, professionally, helping them create their life by divine design. How do I do that? Just as Kavan said, we are both entrepreneurs, and I've been an entrepreneur for, I would say probably most of my life, but really making profit from it, maybe over the past 15 years or so. In other business ventures as well as just on my own. So the areas of entrepreneurship for me has really been focused on helping people to reach their goals in their health. That's physical health, fitness, nutrition, mental health, because I'm a licensed mental health therapist as well, couples therapy. So relationship-wise, as well as business startup. And I didn't throw in there that I am a songstress and a songwriter. So I love to help people to also develop their artistry as well.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. The reason what we're doing today is a couple of things. I always call this training, meaning where you get to see what Fresh Aire Network Podcast Studio production looks like. Dual purpose is to, of course, introduce yourself and myself, and perhaps how we are synergistically coming together to do business, or hopefully to help some people in the future. So I wanted to get right into it and find out, how long have you been here now?
In Georgia?
Yes.
I've been here most of my life, so you can say I'm a Georgia peach.
Got it.
Yes.
And I'm asking that question just for the perspective of people knowing how long you've been here, some of the experiences that you may have gone through. As I stated before, I've been here 2.5 years.
Still
so I'm
newbie.
a little newbie when it comes to certain things. So it would be good to get your thoughts and perspective on what your entrepreneurial lifestyle has been since you've been here. So to kind of get into it, what has been your experience as it relates to doing business in Atlanta? And the reason why I'm posing that question is because, as you know, so many times a lot of people move here and move out. Sometimes they are entrepreneurs coming here and they may or may not have a gauge on how the lifestyle could be coming to Atlanta, and sometimes it's a little daunting when they get here because they didn't know.
Right.
So can you speak to what has been your experience being an entrepreneur, 15 years? Congratulations on that.
Yes.
Exactly.
Probably longer if I really think about it, but I'll be telling my age to y'all.
Right. Strategically. Always in the back of the mind.
There we
Always
go.
in the back. Can't let them know everything. I got
That's right. Keep a little mystery.
it. So yeah, I would like to have that conversation, and I think it's important, just based off of a person that's been here as long as you have been through the ups and downs, the changes, geographically and economically in Atlanta and then the outskirts. So yeah, speak to
Speak to it.
Yeah,
okay. If we want to, you might have to give me a time limit, okay? Because if you want to take it all the way back, like I said, it's some history and some building. So if we look at it in terms of, I could say the ebbs and flows have been that, first off, entrepreneurship, I would say, has been in my blood.
Okay.
If we go back to my grandfather, he was what you call a hustler, but he would sell cars, run the numbers. He was really about making a way, you know? So I really think that it was in my DNA, although my father, he was in and out in terms of entrepreneurship. So that's just some background in terms of sometimes there are characteristics to being an entrepreneur. Everybody is not meant to be one, and that's okay, because it does have its ups and downs to where there's not always stability there. That's number one that I kind of want to share for those even who may be thinking about it.
Now, when you say stability, not to cut you off, but that comes in different formats. Yeah. Can you give an example? Like, I know the 2-week check that people get in corporate world that's not going to necessarily be there.
Very true.
Could be an example of stability.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just a peace of mind of knowing that something is going to be regimented,
right,
and it's going to be consistent. And I know that's not necessarily good for an individual based off the fear of the unknown. So can you speak to that? There you
go. Exactly. In terms of being an entrepreneur, just as Kavan was saying, is if you're an employee, at least you know, if I work 40 hours, I'm making this much every 2 weeks, every week, every month. As an entrepreneur, and you have to ensure that your structure, your processes are in place, and especially starting out, you just don't know what will work. So that level of stability on the first side is financially, in terms of that what you're making will be the same every week, every month, even months on end, because that may fluctuate. And that isn't for the everyone.
Fainted.
There you go. That's the word. Say it again.
Fainted hearted.
The faint is the heart, right?
Fainted hearted.
So, because in not having that financial stability, that affects us mentally, that affects us emotionally, and think of that in terms of even if you had a family too.
Right.
So many levels in terms of not just financial stability, but it can affect us on an emotional and mental level too.
Yeah, and that's the top 2-3 things that keeps people from actually stepping out to actually do that, whether it's the financial side, the lack thereof of being ignorant to the lifestyle, the daily activity, and more importantly, the mindset.
Right.
The mindset of being able to pick yourself up, fill yourself up.
Oh, yes.
And be able to be real introspective to what you're going through when you're going through it. And that's not an easy task, because what my lifestyle consulting firm always was built off of that kind of approach. Now, I can talk to you about being an entrepreneur, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if I don't share with you what the possible mindset going into it could be, possible mindset. Everybody's different, but I do know some things that if somebody told this to me before I went out and started being an entrepreneur, I would take heed to it, first of all. Second thing is that I wouldn't be as afraid, because once it happened, you'd be like, oh, somebody told me that.
There you go. Exactly.
So it somewhat normalized it to a certain degree, because you're like, oh, this is normal for this to happen, as opposed to it happened and you didn't know it was going to happen, and more importantly, you don't know how to get out of it. And that can be a daunting task too. So let's speak to, why did you decide to be an entrepreneur? Because and that's very important, because when we talk about all these challenges that we're going into, especially knowing after 15 years and 22 years, like, you still doing it? Like what gives? Can you speak to that? Like, for reasons why you decided to? Obviously, it was in your blood, like you say.
Yes.
I know experiences sometimes subconsciously. And shout out to Chloe and my daughter and her starting her business, and I didn't tell her to. Yeah. So can you speak to some of that?
Congrats to her.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely can. Why did I want to be an entrepreneur? That's a loaded question.
I know. Top 3 things.
Top 3. I'm going to start with a story. Okay. And that story goes to when I was in college. When I was in college, a new world opened up to me. And what I mean by that is I was exposed to a lot that in, say, my prior years where I just thought I had everything figured out and I just wanted to be grown. I wanted to turn 21. I wanted to have a family, work. I wanted to get out there. In those 4 years of college, I went to Clark Atlanta University. Have to shout out my alumni. So the actual motto was find a way or make one. And that really stuck with me, because in that motto of find a way or make one, I really started to learn more about myself, what I wanted, what gelled for me, what didn't gel for me. And I always wanted to be a helper. I always wanted to be someone who was able to heal. Actually, literally, I wanted to heal people. And I was on a path of being a medical doctor at that time. But it changed once I attended my internship, and I saw what goes through, what's the process, and actually saw an autopsy. I saw the cadaver, and that just threw me off track. And it really didn't throw me off track. It put me on track to what I truly wanted to do.
Nice.
And I changed my major right away.
Have you seen the cadaver?
Yes.
And for me, this is not for me.
I changed it from pre-med and to psychology because I wanted to know more about the workings of the mind and the true healing of understanding. If we have the mindset, then we truly can navigate our lives and heal ourselves. And in that time, I was kind of the layout of how I wanted to help people. And in that time, I said, I don't want to work for anybody per se. I want to be able to create. I want to use all of my gifts, which was singing, writing. I want to do all of those things. And even as young as 8, I recall I said I wanted to be a businesswoman, a healer, and a singer. So how can I do all of these things and work for somebody else? What time? How does that work, right?
Go ahead. I'm not speaking. Go ahead.
Well, it was at that time that I knew in my mind, as that little girl, and what was already in my DNA in terms of my father, my grandfather. In some ways, they were entrepreneurs. I wanted that too. I wanted to create a path for myself and not have to work for somebody else. Did I go into the work field for a while? Yes, I did. But that was still in my heart. It was still in my psyche. So it's been a longing, a desire in me, because I wanted to ensure that I was able to give others what they wanted to see and make it a reality. But I also wanted to create that for myself. And I thought it was very limiting to be able to do it if I worked for someone else.
Nice. Got it. I'm going to pivot and say a general statement, and I'm sure when people hear it, they might question it, but I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway.
Sure.
That statement is, I believe every person is an entrepreneur. I really, truly do believe that. And before I just say that and I give an example or reference point, before the industrial age, industrial age meaning, for those who may or may not know, when the America or the Western Hemisphere decided to become a manufacturing spot or place or entity, number one is because of wars. It was because of mass production of things for wars. And that's when they decided to indoctrinate the people to not go out and make their own way, but come in and make this one piece of equipment 18, 19 hours, 40 hours, 80 hours a week. And we're going to give you this check. And you can go home at any disclosed time and anything else, it was easier to do that in some cases than that of going out and hustling like your grandfather may have done and your father part-time. And we bought into it because it was easier.
Right.
And I'm saying that even back before that, not sure how true or tangible everybody's name is, but sometimes your last name was always built off of whatever profession your family did. And that was when entrepreneurship was at its highest.
Right.
Because somebody had to find out what the need of the company or the city or the state or the people or the town, and they filled it. And when they filled it, it was because it was a supply and demand world, which it still is today. But it was more of, it wasn't a regimen where you go do this. It was like, hey, find a way. So that's what cattle and all kinds of entrepreneurial spirits were running rampant. But then when the industrial age, like I say, decided to rear its ugly head, we acquiesced, meaning the human beings, the people on this side acquiesced because it was easier to a certain degree. But I think it did stunt our experience in taking on our fears. And then understanding about economics to a certain degree too, meaning supply and demand is nothing but economics one-on-one.
Right.
See it, understand it, see the demand, and then feel it. So many times, some of the challenge that people are having with being in the corporate world is that it just don't feel right. It don't feel right. It may feel right for a moment, and then sometimes after they retire, they felt like it didn't feel right, but it was right for the right time. And I'm not poo-pooing on nobody who have to do what they got to do to make a life for themselves and their family. But just on a psychological note, I wanted to make that distinction between why I asked you, why did you decide? What were some of the reasonings? You said you felt like it was innate, meaning like it was in you already. You had examples of your grandfather and your father. Those examples were a certain subconscious examples that was given to you that you didn't know, but they were just doing what they were doing.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Shout out to Chloe and my daughter who, she was with me through, I left my job, I fired my boss August 20th, 2002.
Okay.
And Chloe was born July 19th, 2002.
Oh, wow.
So it was a month and a day I left my ball and chain. And that was a daunting move. I must admit, at the same time, I, like yourself, just felt like this is not it. And just to give a background on myself on that note is, I went to the Army. I did that kind of stuff. And then I was in corporate world prior to that.
Okay.
So I had a reference point on how that felt when I was in that lifestyle. And it was cool when you first get the job. Remember that when you first get anything, it's always like,
excitement, right?
Yeah, make a couple of coins, a little bit more, couple of dollars in your pocket and bank account, and it's always good then. But then reality hits. You start to find out what the obligation is. You start working with your fellow coworkers. You find out what you're limited on, what you can and can't do. And most of the time, it's equating to your time. What you can and can't do generally is synonymous with your time.
Yes.
How you can and cannot control it, or how you be in control with it. So, just to shout out, that is one of the best things I ever done in my life, was to fire my boss and start this. And it's
feeling.
I mean,
a little scary too, but beautiful as well. For sure.
Yes. I'm not gonna sit up here in front like I had it all together, and that's not necessarily true.
Right.
And I know it's not true because that's why we do the ambassadors. That's why I do these networking events. That's why I'm doing this video production pieces. That, we talking about this, so hopefully somebody that is looking at this could see that, hey, they look like me, or they have some of the same background that I have,
right?
Or Yeah, that's my grandfather was a hustler too. And when I say hustle, the hustle to me is always going to be a positive connotation. It's not something that you doing somebody wrong. It's more of supply and demand and being able to
Make
pick
it
it
a
up.
way. Like we said, make it a way no matter what. You do what needs to be done, but you're also trying to do it independently. Yeah.
And that experience is the best teacher. They say that, and I really do, like I said, step back and think about how grateful I was to make that decision and stick with the decision, because you have to stick with the decision every day for those 15 years and 22 years. And that's honorable. That's why I've said, congratulations on making the choice and then turn around and continue to make the choice. And going to turn around and want to help people too.
Yes.
So the service part. I too was in that realm of growing up and always being of service. And the next best thing was to be of service, but it being it in my own way.
Right.
So entrepreneurs out there, aspiring entrepreneurs, that's one of the things. You can do it your own way, but make sure that hopefully that way is better than other ways. That's the best approach in a general statement that I can give to people who are thinking about being an entrepreneur or currently being an entrepreneur. Like, make something better.
Right. Yeah. I would say also in terms of not causing harm to self or others.
True.
That's a good guideline. It's broad, but then it gives some ethical guidelines to keep us in check.
Yeah,
well.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Meaning, I believe to survive and or endure being an entrepreneur, it has to be something that you believe in. I was just talking to a client of mine day before yesterday, and she was speaking about she wanted to service and do something for men, right? And I was like, cool, that's great. Make sure that you do that service because you really want to do it.
Right.
Not because you want to be Captain Saberho in a certain degree, right? That's the urban term. When you want to save somebody and you go and you go down that route, 9 times out of 10 it's not going to be as fulfilling for a long period of time. Because it's not something that you really want to do, that was feeding your soul and was feeding a certain thing that you needed while you were servicing whoever your market is.
Right.
Yeah. So,
can I add something?
Sure.
Just in terms of that entrepreneur piece of, I like the way you said about everybody's an entrepreneur. I'm big on saying that everybody's an artist, because in that artistry we create, and we create in different forms. But also, just as we said, in terms of mindset, it's not for the faintest, as we said. And so we go through different phases of life. And if we keep that mindset that we are all artists, then yes, we can have that potential to be entrepreneurs. But at the same time, we all have a role to play in terms of that doctor that does need to go to school and learn so they can do that specialized field, that lawyer. But also it could topple over to they have their own practice, just as I did in terms of when it was specific for me in terms of being a therapist, been a trainer, so different avenues. And when we keep that broadness and that openness of create, we all have some type of creation within us, some ideas, something, and being able to build on that, and we can create in terms of that entrepreneur that's within us.
Let me make a distinction about something that you said.
Okay.
And you said that everybody is an artist. And I want to dispel the starving artist stigma that goes with when people say, I'm an artist. And 9 times out of 10, when I speak to them, they use that term, starving artist.
Please.
And right.
That belief right there.
Right. So I'm making that distinction. When you say artist, I don't want people to think that it's always got to do with music.
No,
it doesn't have to do with always do
Not
with
at
painting
all. Yes.
or some kind of artsy fartsy stuff. It's more of seeing a certain skill or passion that you have, and then turn around and making that skill and passion a business
There
concept.
you go, exactly.
So that's what I wrote down here. It's the business side to this that we don't want to sidestep or not give energy to. It's all good to want to help folks and be of service.
Yes.
And you and I had this conversation somewhat
Yes, we
yesterday,
did.
I think it was,
Yeah,
right?
it was, right.
And about so many times, and I'm at fault for this. Not fault, that's not the word. I'm guilty, or it's my challenge that I want to be captain, save somebody. Yeah. And sometimes two things are going on. One is you can't want something for somebody that they don't want for themselves.
That's a big lesson.
Number two is that they're running their own race.
Yes.
And you want to be respectful of them coming to their own when they want to, and not pushing them or thinking that they're supposed to be at the same space and place that you are.
Most definitely.
And that's a daunting interaction with somebody, because you want to have an environment where information can be exchanged, experiences can be exchanged. So the person is more opted to, like, oh, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Also, there is a business side to this entrepreneurial world. I cannot state that more clearly, but also give you more information about that. That means that it is good to learn the game of life, the game of entrepreneurship, the game of business, the game of exchange, the game of universal laws, the game of natural laws. All these things are, and when I use games, it's rules to games. That's why I use the term, is rules to games. Inside these games, if you don't know the rules or the direction, then you either A, lose the game, number two is left out,
right,
or number three, you're gonna be upset that you don't know the rules, and now you're not gonna play the game, which is just as bad as anything. You know, so many times, I don't want to be no entrepreneur because what? Because you don't know the game? Is that why you don't want to? So you're not willing to learn the game? That's what you're saying too? No, that's not what I'm saying. Well, only way you can learn the game is by being inside of it.
Right.
And I don't want to point the fingers at somebody saying that you're supposed to be in the game, you should be in the game. But it is. It's more important. If you want to do something, then you have to be involved in it. And in being involved means that, yeah, the business side is that to survive 15 years, I apologize about the word, to endure and or evolve and supersede any thoughts of being in business for 15 years. Now you're here.
Right.
You have scrapes and bruises, but you also have you have the ability to see those scrapes and bruises and be like, yeah, I remember when that happened.
Muscle.
Right. It is. Entrepreneurship is a muscle.
Yes.
It's definitely a muscle. Good example. And I want to say, once again, the business side is very important for you to consider. And sometimes it's the difference between you being in business for 3 years or 15 years and 22 years.
Yes.
I'm just going to say it like that.
Very true.
And the business side is not always dollars and cents. It's relationships. It's characters. It's culture of how you're going to treat somebody and how you want to be treated.
Right.
Which kind of leads us into the ambassador piece too. So, with all that being said, how do you think your lifestyle of being an entrepreneur affected your kids or children or family, period?
How did my lifestyle of being an entrepreneur affect my family?
Yes.
And yes, I'm a proud mother. I'm a divorcee.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so, as I've been on the journey, they've been on the journey too. I think that they saw the positives and I guess in their mind, what might be the negatives, and I'll share that, especially as a woman entrepreneur and being a mother, and being present and active mother. There's a difference between being a mom.
Yes, you make the distinction, please.
Yes, it's a difference between I'm just a mom and I have kids versus you want to be active in their life and ensure that I'm going to the games, I'm checking on their homework and making sure they're doing well, I'm attending the meeting at PTA at times, I'm taking them where they need to go for any after school programs, wanting to pick them up. And so in that is sometimes that had to be sacrificed to where my then husband, my ex-husband, he shouldered some of that, and I'm thankful for that. They also saw the positives that mommy's not giving up, mommy's persevering, mommy's following what she says she wants to do. And I'm thankful because I think of this little gift. I think he gave it to me maybe on Mother's Day, my youngest. And he printed out this picture of me in my business suit. And he created an acronym of my name, Sha'Ria. And for each one, there was, what was that specific one that stood out to me? But basically, he was just saying how he noticed that I persevered. And he created this when he was younger, so that was like a big word.
Right.
I was like, wow, he noticed, you know. And even my other son, my older son, he's also an artist as well. He raps, he writes. He actually even created his clothing line. So he has that entrepreneurial spirit as well. And he was like, Mommy, I'm proud of you. So they saw the moments where I had to pull back and I couldn't be there as present as I wanted to be as a mom. And moments where, when are you coming home? Well, I have an event to go to, or
Right.
I have to go out of town for a show. So they saw the ups and downs of it. They saw the positives and also how it affected them. And it affected me too.
No, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's more than nice. It's
Yeah.
it's one of those moments when you find out how much your children, although you feel like they don't listen to you, they still taking in.
They're still taking it in, yes.
And for him to pick out the perseverance part and the acronym and then share with you, that gives you the ability to be grateful
Yes.
that our children understand that it's sacrifice.
Right.
It takes work to get something done. It takes consistency to do something and to do it well. So, that's my reason for asking that question, because so many times our kids are taking real good notes.
Oh, yes.
And when you go back to them later on, and I'm not poo-pooing, like I say, on anybody in the corporate world, but when they come back to you and say, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, this corporate world ain't doing it for me. And I need some assistance.
Right.
And assistance doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. It's more of put me up on some game. Now, I went to school. I got good grades like you asked me to do. Out here in the corporate world. And something is just not as fulfilling as I thought it would
Right.
be. And now they come to the parent for understanding. And I'm saying this because sometimes the parent has been living the same lifestyle that the kid is going into, and they cannot give them a way to release the pressure. The pressure of measuring up, the pressure of, being a father, I'm saying that because They say go to school, get an education, so you can get a wife, and you can get a wife, so you can work, so you can
Right.
attract the wife. You can attract the wife, but then you have to have a good job to have,
Blah, blah,
sustain the
blah.
family. And
Yes.
you want the car, so you can get the girl. Then you got to get the girl. Then you got to take her out. And you take her out.
Oh, goodness.
Family, then all that measuring up.
Yes.
Sometimes is a little daunting to people, and after they go through it and the wool is pulled off of their eyes, and the truth is more like, this is not for me. I went to school, I did this, and I'm in this position and or profession that I spent all this money to be in, and it's not fulfilling.
Right.
So what happens then? Or what happens when you've been through it and now you see your child going through it and they're coming to ask you for answers? What are you going to say? What are you going to do? And I'm not saying that you're supposed to be an entrepreneur too, but I believe that you should know other entrepreneurs. At least, I don't care if you're in corporate world, you should hang around with other entrepreneurs and other corporate people too. But I'm saying that because so many times we get stagnant in our lifestyle and think that's the only way.
Right.
And you only be around people like yourself. And sometimes entrepreneurs don't want to be around corporate people. I'm gonna say that out loud. I know they don't want to say it. Other entrepreneurs don't want to say it, but it's they don't want to hear that you in a certain situation and you're not doing anything to get out of it.
Well, it can be a very different mentality.
Speak on that.
Yeah, the mentality is different because, again, some people are happy with their corporate job. That we're not going to say that everyone who is in corporate that they are just dreading it and they don't like that position or the lifestyle that it provides with having a salary or the income that they receive or the other benefits that come with that corporate position. But when I say it's a mentality, that we do think differently in some areas.
Speak on it. You tippy-toed. I went all in. Now you like, we kind of think differently. Okay, well, what's the difference? What's the difference? And I'm saying this because I like being transparent.
Yes.
When I'm with my clients and I'm talking to them, I don't have time to be not saying what it is. If it's that, then that you agree that's what it is. Okay, we both agree that's what it is. All right, now that we agree that's what it is, if we do not want that, what can we do to get out of it? But we can't be, no, it's not really with that. Right. Or I'm happy. No, you're totally not happy because you just said it. So yeah, speak on that, please.
Most definitely. Number one that we already said is freedom of time. Freedom of time and just the decision of what we can do when we choose to do it. If I want to take that client, if I want to do it at that time. But if you have a specific layout of what needs to be done, that's very structured when it comes to a corporate position. When I say the mindset, some people need that level of structure. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Again, different phases of life, different mindset. That's one thing. Another thing I would say is, which we already talked about too, in terms of just that level of stability. Literally, I've had clients. Now, this is the part of the transition of wanting to come out of corporate. But the sense of fear, that level of stability, of certainty. See, there's that fear of certainty that a lot of people have and may not even be aware of.
Speak on that, like the fear of certainty that they may have. Right?
Fear actually is the fear of uncertainty.
Okay.
Let me correct that, okay? It's the fear of uncertainty. So say, sticking with that analogy in terms of a corporate and someone with, I'm just going to say a corporate mindset. We'll just say that. Corporate mindset, entrepreneurship mindset. And someone who is getting tired of the the corporate layout of how things are done for them, how they have to attend these meetings at this certain time. They are burnt out. I hear that a lot with clients.
Do you?
Yes, I
Interesting.
do.
Continue.
And so in the fear of uncertainty, it becomes difficult for them to make the transition from the corporate world to entrepreneurship because they like the certainty. They like that part that they know, oh, I can expect this to happen. I'm certain that this will be how much I'm able to get. I know that on Monday this will happen. Yeah, it's the same. That's a fear. Because when we step into entrepreneurship, that level of uncertainty to this day to the next could change, could be very different. And I would say that we embrace it as entrepreneurs. Maybe not at the beginning, but as you ease into it, you know that this is a part of it. This is a part of it.
Yeah. And then that muscle starts getting
there
stronger.
You go.
And
Let me see that muscle.
Like, see that? It's like that.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there is a mental state and then there's a physical state.
Right.
The mental state is sometimes, or most times, the block. The block of the unknown.
Yes.
The understanding of when I learned that we are a bunch of habits by human beings.
Yes.
The being part is the being habits. We are a bunch of habits.
You better believe it.
And then when those habits are intertwined with your 9 to 5 and you have those habits connected to that 9 to 5, you make it your own.
Right.
You get used to it. It becomes somewhat easy. And what I mean by easy, you know, on Monday morning, you got to wake up and go to work. That's easy. I mean, like, I don't think I got to go to work. You know, that's put in place for you. So you don't have to think about what you have to do on Monday morning. So that's the easy part comes with it. And then that becomes a habit. Now, after that habit becomes who you are and you get used to it, it's just like anything else. When you want to change a habit, it's a challenge because you're going against the grain.
Yes.
Of what you're used to. And back to your point, when somebody has a corporate job and really they're excited when they first get the job, right? And because they learning something new and they want to be, an intricate part of a team and all that good stuff, and they do that good thing, and 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months if you're lucky, things change a little bit. So what's the change? It's the habits that you are forming at that job for those 5, 6 months. You got it. You understand it, and then you start to want to manipulate it. What's the manipulation part? Is I don't have to dress like I used to dress when I first got there to impress.
Okay.
I don't have to actually get up super early to be there 15 minutes beforehand. I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to be. And you stop looking forward to things that you were looking forward to when you first got the gig. And it's just like anything. It's just like when you buy a new car or something. You're like, oh, this car I really wanted. 6 months, a year later, oh yeah, I got that car. So it's a human experience that we're going through, but it just so happened that this corporate world takes up 80 to 85% of your life. And that 85% of your life becomes 85% of your habits. And those 85% habits, if they're not bringing on a good feeling or good sense of worth in a person's world, then they're going to want to change it.
Oh, yes.
And that's that change that we're speaking about. What can you do? You go to another job? That's a change.
That's a change.
Then you go to another job. You're going to change professions. You're going to what? You can do any of those different possibilities. But sometimes people find out that it's more of the same.
Right.
It's the same outcome. So entrepreneurship, although challenging, is certainly exciting.
Oh, yes. It's not a dull moment.
No.
Yes.
No.
No, not at all.
But I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Me either.
I would not. And
No.
people, we're not bull crapping you or
No.
saying that just to be cool. It's that experience is the best teacher piece that we were speaking about. The experience of making something from nothing. The experience of helping somebody in a certain need that they probably or couldn't have gotten out of as fast unless they had you on board.
Right.
Your sense of self and worth and teamwork and being a team member and fulfilling the need in the community. All those different things are what I believe entrepreneurship gives me. I don't necessarily think that it is presented that way.
Right.
And this is why people don't start being entrepreneurs, because they don't necessarily know all the ancillary things that it brings, the background stuff, both to yourself, but to others,
Right.
your kids, your family. Like, well, damn, mama doing it, I could do it.
Yes.
To mama hustling, I can hustle. To so many times when you're in this lifestyle of being an entrepreneur, I run stuff past Chloe, my daughter. We like, hey, what if I did this? What you think? And I talk to her like an adult, even back in the day. Like, hey, Chloe, I'm thinking about doing this. What you think? And she have her chance to see. If she doesn't understand, I give her a chance to understand, well, the reason why I'm asking you this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is what I could present, and then I give her a chance to problem solve
Right.
with me. And that she has a voice. And not only that she's an intricate player in me making this decision. So she's not too young to think that she's not old enough to
Yes.
make a difference in daddy's life. So all of that good stuff, passing out flyers and, and when I had the venue space and cleaning up and food, I think, I actually know, because not to get all the sidebar, but Chloe was making these pouches in 4th grade. I would take her to Michael's in Chicago. I don't know if the guy is still here too.
Michael's.
Okay, Michael's. And they have all different kinds of electric tape with different patterns on it. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Now this is when she was
Electric
4 in
tape.
4th grade. So it was a long time ago. So she used to make pouches out of them, like pencil pouches.
Okay.
She used to get some paper, make a little format, right? And then after she get the paper, she would take the different patterns of electric tape.
Okay.
You know, electric tape is real durable.
Right.
And they got paisley colors, they got all kinds of patterns. I used to buy those for her, and she used to go back and make these pouches.
Okay.
And then sell them in school.
Go ahead, Chloe.
To her classmates. Then she started a cupcake business, and she started selling the cupcakes and candy to her. This is when she was 4th, 5th, 6th grade. I know it's least in that time because, yeah. So I'm saying that to say I didn't tell her to do that. I supported her to go to Michael's. Well, you know, what else we need to get, Chloe? Come on, let's go. And that's when I was exposed to electric tape, been having all kinds of patterns. So I'm saying that I'm speaking this because so many times we think entrepreneurship is just for us, when it could be just for us and our families, because they need examples. They really do need examples, and you don't know how they're gonna take your example and make it their own. But Chloe sure did.
Yes.
And that's important to me. What do you think is the temperature of doing business in Atlanta as a woman? Let me ask you that question.
Okay. What is the temperature of doing business in Atlanta?
As a woman.
As a woman. Lukewarm is the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Why do I say lukewarm? I would say this. I'm big on boundaries. And as a woman and working with men, boundaries are essential because of maintaining a level of professionalism. And because of the fields that I have experience in, that people could look at it and like, okay, you do counseling, coaching, consulting, but singing, event planning, what's going on? Like those are two different realms. Well, that's what an entrepreneur does, right? We are all over the place in the best way possible. But going back to the climate, the temperature in your words, in terms of what that looks like, and me saying boundaries, and it being lukewarm, is that everything is not so great all the time, and especially with working with, say, the opposite sex, and entrepreneur to an entrepreneur, and wanting to say partner or teaming, as we call it, to where it's a group of others that already have their own business, but we also have a common interest, which is why and how I met Kavan, and even building more of a foundation and a culture that has that level of, I would say, ethics and boundaries with it. But we can also have a good time. I have to kind of throw that in. But Kavanna, share more in terms of what that is and what I'm even talking about. But the temperature is lukewarm because there's a positive end of it, of being able to collaborate with fellow entrepreneurs, but also if we look at it on the other end of clientele, on my end, it's hot, but everybody doesn't have it to where, in terms of bringing in clientele, that it's a good steady flow. But we've been in this field for a while, so it's fairly established. So lukewarm is when in working in partnerships or teaming with fellow entrepreneurs and just maintaining that level of boundary. We're going to keep this professional. I can have fun. We can laugh. We can do all of those things. But at the end of the day, we are here as a business, businesses to collaborate, and keeping that in line.
Nice. The reason why I asked that question is because I wonder, when I started doing networking events and I had friends like yourself who, when we just having simple discussions, they would make distinctions between what difference is with how I did business being a male and what some of their challenge was being a female. And so many times I didn't think about it in that way when they were telling me, but then I was thought about like, whoa. And what I mean by that is, you know, Sha'Ria, when you look a certain way and you dealing with the opposite sex, sometimes arterial motives, different reasonings for wanting to be in your world has presented themselves, and it's unbeknownst to you. I'm saying that because I know sometimes women would say that they waste time with these individuals because they had ulterior motives. So I wanted to know, most likely from a woman, what that perspective was. And because men are men, I don't think about that stuff. We have some facet of that going on with the opposite sex too.
Yes.
But it's not as prevalent or pronounced based off of, you know, a woman is supposed to be submissive to a man. And in our society, so many times we get that gray area on how a man's supposed to treat a woman.
Right.
Especially in business, and how sometimes the women waste their time and energy on people who on men who have ulterior motives, and that can be a daunting experience because ultimately you think about, well, what am I doing? Am I doing something wrong? Should I wear a 2-piece, 3-piece, 15-piece suit so I won't share my body parts? But that's not cool either, because you should be supposed to be and do what you want to do and be who you want to be, and somebody should not take that as a weakness or a vulnerability and do you any kind of way when time is being wasted. That's why I asked the question. What's your thoughts on women and how it is in Atlanta? And it was like that in Chicago. This is what I'm really talking about, is when I was in Chicago. So it brings me back to how you and I met. We met through a networking event. Shout out to Antoine and Business Spotlight. And did that event, met you, we started talking, had some of the same goals and aspirations, and kindred spirit, I'm assuming, right?
Of course. Okay. You're like,
right. Don't front me off on the podcast. Anyways, sometimes it's challenging to find people who you gel with. And it's consistent.
Right.
Meaning, nice looking woman, right? Hey.
Thank you. Yes, man.
But at the same time, we need to get some stuff done.
That's right.
Let's use these gifts, talents, skills, what have you, to help ourselves, help each other, but more importantly, help and show other people that it can be done.
Right.
And it should be done. So it brings me to fresh air and the ambassadors piece. And I want to shift gears on some of those questions. Why we pose those questions is because I've been through it. Seems like you've been through it to a certain degree. And after a while, I came up with a way in which I couldn't make excuses anymore. And those excuses was, nobody's doing events, or no, I can't meet the right people, or everybody's jacked up in the world, and you can't keep doing that. So I decided to create my own. What does that mean? That means that when me and Sha'Ria met, and we had kindred spirit, like I said, we had some of the same goals and aspiration, and we wanted to still get things done.
Yes.
So I shared with her about the podcast and the content creation, and she had ideas. So I have this thing called Fresh Aire Network ambassadors. And what the ambassador is, and please take on this concept, make it your own. It's not mine to hoard. It's more of a remedy that I came up with based off of being an entrepreneur. And the ambassador thing just gives me an opportunity to bring like-minded individuals together, like myself and Sha'Ria and several other people, and we have conversations and we invite other like-minded individuals out, and we have dialogue, we have a lot of conversations, we share each other's business when they stand up and talk about who they are, what they are. We make sure that the social element and the face-to-face element is not something that's dropping by the wayside, because after COVID and even before COVID, people weren't meeting as much. There wasn't many networking events. There wasn't folks rallying together, and I think that's very important. We talked about entrepreneurship and what it is to be an entrepreneur and the lifestyle and the fears and all that good stuff, but I also want to not necessarily just talk about the doom and gloom. We want to talk about remedies. And the ambassador piece is just like-minded individuals coming together. We come together, we exchange ideas, and then my whole objective is, since I'm in media and video and content creation, why don't I help put these people on?
Right.
So this is a part of that, putting a person on, meaning me and Sha'Ria sat down and like, you know what, let's just talk. Let's just kind of consummate what we're doing, how we're doing it, who we are, and what we're going to do. But more importantly, see that this is still going on in Atlanta. It is a dynamic between women and men that's coming together, and there's nothing more than we come together to do something good for each other
That's
and
right.
for the community,
Uplift one another,
and do it out of love and in service.
Yes.
And the ambassador piece is something I felt is important because, just a little small story, I'm in Chicago, and I know some pretty prominent people in Chicago. Whether they come to my events or came to a restaurant or just, I frequent their stuff. And it got to the point where these people who were pretty prominent, after they got their guards down, we had drinks and stuff like that, they'll start telling me what their challenges were. And so many times we revere people that are known, but we really don't know what they're going through in their personal life or in their personal mind and space. And that's when I found out, like, it don't matter how cool you are or how many people know you or how prominent you are in your certain profession, you still want to be around other like-minded individuals. Right. You want to be around like-minded individuals that's authentic to themselves and towards you. Yes. Meaning, like, they're not looking at you like, ooh, I can get something from that person. They're looking at you like, oh, you cool, and oh, you do that? Cool. So, so many people that are prominent want to be normal. They want to be around people and feel like they're normal. Right. And not them thinking that somebody wants something from them. But as that dynamic is going on, they also want to have a good time. They want to hear some good music, they want bands, eat DJs, and food, right? Hang out, because so many times inside of this entrepreneurial lifestyle, we get stuck. We get stuck in the house, in our professions, in the rigmarole. Oh, yes. I'm at fault for this. And we don't have too many things to look forward to. So the ambassador was to vet other entrepreneurs, pick out the ones that we felt is in tune with what we got going on, and we take those individuals and we showcase them. We uplift them. They uplift us. Right. We have a continuous way to get in touch with each other, and it starts to bleed over to having conversations, and you get to know the individuals about and know them privately or personally. And support each other. And support. So the ambassador is something that, did I want to do it? I'm gonna be honest, no, I didn't. Because it's more work. Right. I mean, I'll be like, I love doing this, and it's great. Meeting people is so great, and service. No. That's not you, Kevin. No. I mean, yeah, anybody that knows me or kind of knows me know that, no, I don't like the videos. I don't do the pictures. I'm behind the scenes. Always have been cool with it. Don't even trip about it. Love it. Embrace it. It's a part of who I am. But we still need to have an event. We still need to have fun. We still need to showcase DJs and artists and have good drinks and have a good time. Because if you don't, the days and the weeks and years just start fizzing by. Yes. And before you know it, you in a space and place where you by yourself. Right. You don't have a support system. You don't have anybody that you build relationships with. You haven't forged anything where you've done something for somebody and they feel compelled to do something for you. Any of those aspects is what I believe the Fresh Aire Network, it is a network. And the air part is AIRE. We believe that we are building and maintaining millionaires and billionaires, and we all need some fresh air. Yes. The fresh air can come in so many different facets. It can be a newfound friendship, a newfound business partner. It's the fact that you got someplace to go to be around like-minded individuals. You have somebody to call and talk to throw ideas off of. You need help. You need assistance. You need a resource. That resource has been vetted.
There we go.
You trust the person that you asking for the person that you need. And now all of that time starts to be cut because of relationship building. And you don't mind doing other things in the future either, because you're like, man, this was pretty easy, or it went pretty well, or the collective effort of all of us together meant that it wasn't that much that each person had to do.
Exactly.
Especially if it's for the greater good. So now I'm about to put you on the spot. And the spot is, I know it's a short timetable, but what do you think and how has it been for you to be a Fresh Aire Network ambassador?
How has it been for me to be a Fresh Aire ambassador? It's been great. A lot of those elements, in terms of, first off, even the first time that we met, just as we said, that kindred spirit, I could feel that there was a connection in terms of, okay, something might be here. In support, how can I help you? And not even just from you, but when we did the actual ambassador event, that was the spirit of everyone. Well, how can I help you? What are you needing? What are you facing? What's going on with you? And being able to have that camaraderie of understanding and the willingness to say, okay, maybe this might help, or I have this resource for you. And so that piece definitely, and even being able to have the potential of partnering, even us determining, hey, we both have lifestyle consulting firms, being able to join together because we can be so much more impactful together. So I've seen significance. And when we say kind of record speed, we keep the momentum going. Just going back to past connections with other entrepreneurs, that things kind of sizzle out and you say, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this, and there's no follow through. There's follow through.
Amen for follow through.
Follow through. Yeah. See, you have to be an entrepreneur to know what that really is and how important that is. That's necessary. That, okay, we say we're going to do this. Yeah, we're not going to get it all done right away, but we're taking this step to the next step. Yes, something might come up. We might need to reschedule, but we still follow through. That's very significant to me.
Yeah, because thank you for that.
Yeah.
And thank you for being you, being a Fresh Aire ambassador. And yeah, give me your. She didn't know I was going to ask her this at all.
I don't know what he's asking. Y'all.
Right.
This is not.
And the reason this is
scripted.
Just to your point. The reason why we're doing this, fans, fellow entrepreneurs, and guests, is that I wanted Sha'Ria to see start to finish what this podcast, what the video production is, how it actually transpired when you was driving here, when you was putting your makeup on, when you came in here, went straight to the bathroom. All of that stuff is.
Don't be telling my business.
I mean, it's standard. This is all standard girl stuff that I know.
Yes.
My point is that you know what that experience is.
Right.
So when you start bringing other people onto your podcast, because you're doing your own podcast, which we did not mention, she'll know what to expect. When a guest comes, they're going to want to go to the bathroom. They are. If they're a girl, either way, most of the time they are. But also when they sit down, how they going to do their hair, what they going to feel like. Well, you just did that. You did the whole kit and caboodle. Now we putting the cameras on, we talking. This was impromptu. I told her I'll just throw a softball questions. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about her experience, her business. We're going to sprinkle the Fresh Aire Network and the ambassador pieces. But the whole point is this was supposed to be geared for training, showing her. I'm still posted and all that good stuff. But there's nothing like me talking to Sha'Ria and me sharing this to Sha'Ria.
Most definitely.
So this is what you guys have been involved in, is me coming and saying, Sha'Ria, you know what, let's do a podcast. I'll show you how this all work out and what we look. So now she knows what it looks like. She knows what it sound like, because afterwards I'm gonna show her and she be like, oh, okay, damn, okay, that looks nice. And so now it's no guessing games about the production
Right.
or how quality of the sound is. So when she goes out and start marketing her podcast to other people, and or have people guest or co-host or what have you, and she shows them this is going to be something that she shows to them. So now she can be like, no, I got a podcast I'm going to do. She hadn't done it yet. She about to start it. But you know what? This is what I did before. So now it sets up like, oh, okay, all right, that looks good, okay. Mine's going to be, and you can talk up what your podcast is going to be about. And all entrepreneurs and most people want is proof. They want proof. They want to say what you mean and mean what you say. All of that. And this is just another part of me saying something to Sha'Ria and me meaning it, and then we turn around and doing this so she can see it and know that unequivocally, number one, he knows what he's doing.
Right.
Number two, I don't think that's it.
You created it. It's okay.
Number two. Number two is it's a thing now. No, the other part is that it's experience is the best teacher kind of thing, and I'm doing this because I want Sha'Ria to win. Period.
I want Kavan to win.
I want her to take what experience I have, gifts, tools, experience, resources, make it her own, so she can make my life easier, her life easier, and then anybody that comes into our world as an ambassador, you'll make their life easier too. Because yes, when we start doing these podcasts on a bigger scale, who you think gonna be in front of the camera?
Would you like to see me?
And I want to be behind the scenes so I can make sure the quality and all that good stuff is good. And that's what I do. And I'm grateful that I want to do it. But at the same time, we have to also get allies like yourself, get them trained up, get the experience in their repertoire. And then, like I appreciate Sha'Ria got it when we had the conversation initially, right? And then we had another conversation on the phone. And you really want people to get it. And getting it really means that they have some of the same aspirations and goals and steps and rules of engagement and
alignment.
Alignment. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
What is it that you have going on? Well, first of all, before I forget, let's make sure that people can access you.
Yes.
And be able to find out how they can get some of your services and or follow you or become a fan and all that good stuff. So you can share with them.
Sure.
It's gonna be up here or down there or someplace anyway. But
okay.
Go ahead.
No problem. So I can be reached at Sha'RiaThomas.com. I'm going to spell my name so you know how to go to that website. It's S as in Sam, HARIA, Thomas, T as in Tom, HOMAS as in Sam.com. And as we were saying, I have a lifestyle consulting firm. How that plays into one realm to the other is being able to assist my clients by assessing what their needs are, what their goals are, helping them to create that and make a reality. So I take my skills in terms of life coaching, counseling, and the consulting part is I don't need to literally counsel you or coach you and hold you accountable. I just give you the information. I assess you and I provide you and move you to the right resources, whether it's Kavan, for example, to where you might need a commercial or ad, whatever it may be in terms of another professional service, another tool, a product. And so that's the consulting part of it. Along with that, of course, as you know, it's about me living my life to the fullest and helping others to know you can do it too. That's the part of the inspiration, is being a living example, helping people to step out of their fear. And I do. I literally do sing, songwrite. So you can check all that out on my website. And I do shows around the state, out of state, Have some new music coming up.
Yes, that's what
It's a lot that's going to be coming. I don't want to throw it all out there just as of yet, but you can stay in contact with me through social media as well at I am Sha'Ria Thomas, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm going to try to get back on Twitter. I'm going to do better with Twitter. And I can also be emailed at info@sha'riathomas.com, same spelling. And phone number is 678-661-9539. And reach out to me for consultations. I do give complimentary consultations, and you can book on my website, sha'riathomas.com.
Nice. Thank you, Sha'Ria.
Welcome. Thank you.
So, I guess the Cliff Note versions of this podcast was to introduce you, introduce what we had going on, give example of some of the challenges that we had and why we doing the ambassador piece, to give you an opportunity to, I guess, obviously check out what the production side looked like, and then, I'm always amazed that when I go online and I'm looking at podcasts, that it's very rarely women and men talking to each other. Let me just say, it's generally, they're never in the same. Now a lot of people do the virtual piece, right. And I get it, conversation, but it's different to see people in the same space and place, and they're talking about entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I don't see a lot of that on TV or unless it's not a lot. And I don't like that. So one of my charges in life was to give a platform for the Sha'Rias to tell their story. Get that out there. Let me see that it's other people like myself out here. Let my daughter see you and get an example. Let them see that production can be professional, and we're not talking at each other. We're talking to each other, and we're having good conversation, and we're having fun, and it's not so corporate-y where we can't make mistakes or we have to be so stern and stiff. That's just not normal. Not to mention, we should be able to tell our story the way we want to tell our story.
Yes.
And the fashion that we want to tell our story. And I think that's very important. And do you think do you have anything going on in the near future besides our ambassador event on Friday?
Say it loud.
So we have a Fresh Aire Network ambassador event on Friday. And if you want to get at us, let me know. Fresh Aire Network Podcast Studio. You can reach us at Fresh Aire, AIRE Network @gmail.com. It's all over someplace up here. But if you don't be able to come to this next Friday, just hit me up, and we have them every month or sometimes more than that after we get them. So that's the other part. We have events where we bring potential ambassadors together. After we get these ambassadors together, we'll have another event for the ambassadors only.
Yes.
And the ambassadors only event is where we can hopefully take the tools and the know-how of the group to help each other individually or collectively to get some things done. And and after we do those events, that gathering, then we have a showcasing.
All right.
And that's the whole point too, is that by being an ambassador, I do have access to space and places that we can actually hold our events. And by being an ambassador, you get to take advantage of those spaces and places too.
Benefits.
And then when we do the events, I said doo-doo.
Doodle brown.
So when we do hold our events, we're showcasing the ambassadors at the event, which also will be recorded and live streamed and showcased. And so all that is content creation while we're doing what we're doing and building relationship. And we take that information and hopefully put it out there to you guys so you can see that the Sha'Ria are doing some great things with great people, and you can support her.
Thank you. Yes. And
Yeah.
you said anything that I do have coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I do have my single, so definitely check out my single on all your major digital platforms, Spotify, YouTube. Sha'Ria Thomas, SHA apostrophe RIA Thomas, THOMAS. You will see me all over, y'all. So y'all get ready.
Nice. Good job. Good job. So yeah, is anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for having me today. Thank you for the experience. And I'm looking forward to so much more. I do have to shout out someone because I'm not new to the media world. And so I cannot leave out those who I kind of started out with, that we talk about building those relationships. That's very important to me. And so those who stayed respectful and maintained those boundaries,
right.
You get a shout out. So I do want to thank DJ Rolam, who actually introduced me to the world of media, radio, years ago. And I'm thankful because never knew that would be a part of the venture and experience that I would have. And it's leading to me meeting Kavan in terms of this growth, as well as Sean Garvey. He's in radio as well, and they've been a part of the journey. So I just had to shout them out too.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let me do a couple of shout outs too. Now.
Yeah, they see. Look, I got you started.
No, actually, I'm shouting out to those people who did podcasts 8, 9, 10 years ago that led me. 5150, Corey Holcomb.
There you go.
Fighter and the Kid. Individuals that, you know, I don't know. It's I'm just grateful that entrepreneurs, because all those people are entrepreneurs.
There we go.
Corey Holcomb, yeah, he's a comedian, he's an artist, but he's also an entrepreneur. Showing me how they can take and create their own space and time and their own following. Yeah, shout out to 5150 because he was one of the individuals that did it his own way, continue to do it his own way, and is contrary to what other people and how other people are doing it. But he's being consistent. He has a good heart as far as service. Sometimes the verbiage or the way he say it is not, in tune with everybody, but that's my big brother.
There we go.
And
his
everybody
way.
needs somebody to model off of. So I'm just saying, shout out to those who were before me and gave me the ideas to do all of this, and have an opportunity to showcase you and everybody else in the future. So yes, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
Once again, my name is Kavan Ware, Fresh Aire Network Podcast Studio. Shout out to you guys, all the entrepreneurs out there. Keep on keeping on. Make sure that you really understand that other people are looking at you and family members, and you could be that one example that they can hold on to, come to, and be that light that gives them the idea that they can be that person too. So thanks again. Shout out to Atlanta and Fresh Aire Network and all the ambassadors and what we're going to be doing in the future. So thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.